on set revealed the alleged abuse of child stars on Nickelodeon shows, including All That, Drake and Josh, and Zoe 101. Yeah, this any place where kids gather, you're gonna have creepy people. Like hunters go where the deer are, pedophiles go where the kids are. And when you let your kids have their own jobs away from you, they're going to be subject and exposed to adults long before they should. You should never let your kids be taken care of by strangers, even if it is what they desperately want. I want to be an actor, Mom. Well, too bad. You don't want to get fucked, do you? Yeah, they had so many kids that were abused, molested, even just normal business a kid shouldn't be exposed to. When people are dependent on your income and you're a child and they a child's going to listen to whatever. Like this is the reason why we have laws put in place to stop people from hiring kids. And the acting business is the one weird place where they're still allowed to hire them. So they go abused and unheard because if they go to somebody, a lot of times they're accused of being liars. A lot of times the director or the producer doesn't want to risk their show because that's their big break. You know, they wrote for 15, 20 years before they got picked up, and you can't expect, well, you have to expect somebody, but most people aren't going to fall on the sword for somebody else, especially when they can just dismiss it and not get in trouble. There needs to be a check put in place to make sure that kids are protected and that they have a safe place to come report things to, and they shouldn't be put in a position in the first place. Once your parents are dependent on your income, it's really weird. That's the reason why I think those family YouTube channels, those mom channels and those mom vlog channels are disgusting. Like you have people, even gross people, breastfeeding their kids until they're 8 years old, just so that they can skirt the YouTube guidelines, so that they can claim it's educational content, and it's just so that they can show their tits. And you had that recent YouTube mom who would take her kid's room away as a punishment. Not just like, oh, you can't have your cell phone. Your whole fucking room. You got to sleep on the ground like a prisoner of war. And like the only reason they found out was because her child escaped from the house and ran to a neighbor with duct tape still on their hands. You need to castrate people like that so that they can't ever have kids. Because surprisingly enough, if you get a kid taken away from you, if you have another kid, you can still take care of that kid, which is insane. Like most people should not be parents. Most people aren't capable of taking care of another person, even themselves, let alone another person. Like I feel like it would be not too far of a stretch to have, like with driving, where you have to have a license to drive. You should have to have a license to have a kid to prove that you are not a fucking idiot, weirdo, or a murderer. We should protect our kids. And they should have enough time to grow up and be a kid. Also, it kind of puts into light all of the shows that we had as children. We good laughs, and it just changes it up. iCarly is, Sam being crazy, knowing isn't doesn't hit the same way when you know that behind the scenes, once they say cut, those kids are being tortured on set. Can't really go back and enjoy the shows you used to watch as a kid. Gibby falling from the ceiling is a little bit more abusive now that you look back at it. Of course, I think that was a stuntman that actually broke his collarbone. Like even the side employees were abused. Can you imagine what a kid that doesn't know how to say no or set their boundaries? Kids just know that they do what adults say. They have no reference for what they can and can't do. And these people, they slowly separate the parents, even if the parent is like a on-set parent. Eventually, what they try to do is if they have a parent be difficult, they will try to wedge between them so that they can get more access to the child under the guise of working and stuff like that. But once the kid is isolated, then they start grooming them. And that's where the danger comes from, is a lot of the things that are okay to happen is also things that groomers use to get access to a child. It's like we need to, you go into a room to change or whatever, that's a private area. So the kid's out of sight. They go to on a work trip, but but the company's cheap, so they don't pay for the parent's flight. So that's separation from a child. And each of those points gives the creeps access to the kid alone. And not even if it's just creepy, just them forcing them to work too long, even if there is mandates that you have to keep a kid working only so many hours or whatever. Like, that doesn't mean that people are going to follow them. There's no check put in place. People constantly abuse that, and nobody's going to listen to the kid. And they don't even know that they can say no to these things. Like, I need a break. I don't want to do this. And it's their first big shot. Nobody's going to give them another shot if they complain. So you stick with it and you sit through it, because this is what you have to do to get into the industry. And a lot of these shows just chew these kids up and spit them out. Very few people make it like Ariana Grande into adulthood and continue their careers, because it's such a grinding, tiring work flow that by the time you reach 18, you haven't been a kid. And so a lot of them choose to go to college and be normal people. And then when you see them out there at their car wash job, then they're shamed for it. Like, that's what he's doing now? Then you used to be an actor? It's completely okay to be a plumber. We need more plumbers, people. Teach your kids a vocation. Don't get them into acting. Save their lives while you can.